Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. MicroStrategy is accumulating Bitcoin. BlackRock is accumulating Bitcoin. Fidelity is accumulating Bitcoin. The United States is seizing more and more Bitcoin. Various companies are buying more and more Bitcoin. Today's video is the outcome of many hours of data analysis, all laid out in the magic Excel sheet. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Today, we're going to talk about what is likely to happen with Bitcoin in the coming year. What price could Bitcoin reach? Taking into account how much Bitcoin is being mined, how much will be mined, and how much is being accumulated. Guys, we're looking at the asset that is going to appreciate the most on the planet over the years. We're going to see it today. So without further ado, guys and girls, let's get started. And I'm telling you this right now, but I don't want you to do it just yet. If at any point during the video you're enjoying it, finding it entertaining, or it's simply useful to you, please like and subscribe because it really helps me out a lot. And now, let's go straight to the screen and start from the beginning. We're going to start directly with MicroStrategy. After that, we'll move on to the magic Excel sheet. We can see that currently, MicroStrategy has almost 600,000 Bitcoins at a total price of $64,378,000,000, which is practically $65 billion. And we can see in the purchases how at a certain point, starting in 2024, they begin buying every week, especially in this year 2025, where they are buying every week. Every week, MicroStrategy is buying 4,980 Bitcoins, 245, 10,000 Bitcoins, 1,000 Bitcoins, 705 Bitcoins, 4,000 Bitcoins, 7,390 Bitcoins, and so on and so on and so on. And the thing is, it has an average DCA price of $71,000, which with what they've bought so far, gives them a profit of almost $22,000. Let's go straight to the magic Excel sheet to understand these figures. Because it's reached a point where what MicroStrategy is doing is buying Bitcoin every week. Michael Saylor is buying Bitcoin every week. And if we take into account the total of absolutely everything and go to the end of this magic Excel sheet, we can see that indeed the average purchase price is $71,003. They have total holdings of almost 600,000 Bitcoins. He has bought out of his own pocket and with the debt he has raised, etc., 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 which we won't go into detail about in this video, $42 billion worth of Bitcoin. Currently, he has 64 billion with a profit of almost $22 billion. Let's move straight to what really matters, which is taking into account what we're calculating in this video and the projection we're going to make for the coming years. We'll consider the purchases made from July 2024 up to the present, July 2025. And we can see the following. For example, on the 20th of June 2024, 11,000 Bitcoins were purchased almost 12,000. A little later, on the 1st of August, 169. Michael Saylor was taking it a bit easier there, honestly. On the 13th of September 2024, nearly 20,000 Bitcoins were purchased. And as we move forward and enter 2025, we can see that the purchases become weekly. The 23rd of December, the 16th of December, the 2nd of December, the 30th of December, the 13th of January, the 21st of January, the 27th of January, the 10th of February. Sometimes it's not every week, but it's practically every week. May 5, May 12, May 19, May 26, the 2nd of June, and so on and so on and so on. To buy a total and keep this number firmly in mind of nearly 400,000 Bitcoins in a year. This would be the first thing we need to keep in mind in this video. Another thing I want to mention, and it's honestly crazy, is that they're going to renew the promotion where if you deposit up to $10,000, you get a $2,000 trading bonus. They gave me 100 spots and they're going to give me another 100 in the coming days. It's not active yet, but it will be activated in the next few days. So stay tuned because I'll also announce it on Telegram, which you can find in the description of this video. By depositing up to $10,000, you'll get up to $2,000 in trading bonuses. 100 people have already done it, and the bonuses have already been given to 92 people. There are 8 people who still haven't received it because it's being distributed manually. I'm literally going to show you because I have it right here, and I don't mind showing it transparently. Over $1 million have come into the exchange. It's being done manually because Wix is going to have to distribute nearly $200,000 in trading bonus. 92 people have already received it, and there are still 8 left who are being checked manually. In fact, there are going to be a couple of people who cheated, I have to tell you this as well, who will not receive the bonus. But these people have already been contacted. Just so you know, in the coming days, this Wix campaign will be reactivated. So keep a close eye on it. And now we move on to point number 2, which has to do with Bitcoin ETF. And as we can see here, if we scroll down a bit, we have the BlackRock ETF, we have different ETFs, and we can see that BlackRock has nearly 700,000 Bitcoins. We can see that the next one has almost 200,000 Bitcoins, that Fidelity, Vanek, 21 shares, and so on, all hold a significant amount of Bitcoin. In fact, if we go back to the magic Excel sheet, we can see that IBIT has 700,000 Bitcoins, Fidelity has 200,000, Grayscale has 184,000, 21 shares has 46,000. We can see another Grayscale fund with 42,000, Bitwise with almost 40,000, And we really need to keep this in mind because altogether, in practically 1 year, and if we go back to the ETFs, we can see that at first a lot of money came in, but then quite a bit also flowed out until July 2024, when we started to see a significant inflow into the Bitcoin ETFs. And after that, as the months went by, we can see another outflow from the Bitcoin ETFs. But we can see a total result of 1, 2, 6, 6, 6, 5, 4 Bitcoins from January 2024 to the present. And it was from June or July 2024 when most of them were accumulated. Taking into account that in another part of the cycle, in August and September, a significant amount of money flowed out of the Bitcoin ETF. Let's move on to point number 3, but keep in mind the cases of MicroStrategy and the Bitcoin ETFs, because they'll help us at the end of the video to understand the magnitude of what this is. And the next point is very important and has to do with Bitcoins seized by different countries. And I quote directly, the North American country, the United States, has seized more than 198,000 Bitcoins, which are currently worth nearly $20 billion. In fact, we can see it right here. The North American country, the United States, has seized nearly 200,000 Bitcoins from various sources. What happened with Silk Road? And what has happened in other major cases in the United States involving seizures due to criminal activities, which we won't discuss here. We won't go into detail in this video, but the United States also seizes Bitcoin. We're not going to calculate that. We'll be generous, but we're not going to include it in the final equation to understand the magnitude of these seizures being carried out by different countries. Let's move straight to point number 4. And point number 4 has to do with companies that are accumulating Bitcoin. We have, for example, Mara, which holds nearly 50,000 Bitcoin. We have, for example, 21 Capital, which holds nearly 40,000 Bitcoins, and Riot, which has almost 20,000 Bitcoins. Metaplanet, which is currently accumulating Bitcoin, now holds nearly 14,000 Bitcoin. More and more companies are accumulating Bitcoin, with a current total of 216,000 Bitcoins. We're also not going to include this in the final formula, which we'll talk about a bit later, but just keep it in mind. Let's move straight on to the next point. And the next point is directly related to countries that are accumulating Bitcoin. China with nearly 200,000 Bitcoins. The United Kingdom with almost 61,000 Bitcoins. Ukraine with 46,000. Bhutan with 13,000. And El Salvador, which is accumulating 1 Bitcoin every day and currently has 6,000 Bitcoins. Finland with nearly 2,000 Bitcoins. Georgia with 66 Bitcoins, making a total of 322,000 Bitcoins. Honestly, I would like to see more Spanish-speaking countries, including Spain, accumulating Bitcoin. But well, things work differently here. We also have to understand that not publicly, there are other countries that could also be accumulating Bitcoin, such as the United Arab Emirates, North Korea, and Venezuela, for example. And here we have different news stories, such as the case of China, for example, or here we have the case of get rid of the case of the United Kingdom, the case of Ukraine, and the case of El Salvador. There are different countries currently accumulating Bitcoin. And now let's move directly to what really matters. And what really matters is coming up now. MicroStrategy. And we're going to focus solely on institutions, companies, and ETFs. We're going to set aside the companies and countries that have been accumulating Bitcoin from June or July 2024 up to now. And how much would that represent in terms of daily purchases? Since June or July 2024, MicroStrategy has purchased a total of 382.925 Bitcoins through ETFs. As we've mentioned before, that's a total of 1,266,654 Bitcoins, bringing the overall sum to nearly 1,650,000 Bitcoins in just about a year, and the number keeps increasing. Dividing that by 365, the number of days in a year, gives a total daily purchase of 4,519.39 Bitcoin. And now we get to the truly interesting part of the video, and that will be the following: mining. We have to take into account how Bitcoin cycles work, how the Bitcoin halving operates every 4 years, considering how the blocks work, the hash rate, and how mining functions. The amount of Bitcoin mined is halved each time. Currently, a total of nearly 450 Bitcoins are being mined per day, and in the next cycle, only half will be mined. In the following cycles in 2028, 2032, 2036, the amount mined will keep getting halved each time. Let me show you on the magic Excel sheet. You can see it right here. As we mentioned earlier, MicroStrategy holds 380,000 Bitcoins. The ETFs hold 1,266,000. The average daily purchase, just combining these two, and we're not even taking into account other companies, other countries, seizures, none of that is being considered. We're also not accounting for Bitcoins that will be lost along the way. That's a daily purchase of 4,519 Bitcoin. Now let's take into account the Bitcoins that are currently being mined each day. Currently, that's 450 Bitcoin. Right now, 10 times more Bitcoins are being bought than are being mined. And we're not even talking about retail investors. We're not talking about any of that. At present, an average of 10 times the number of Bitcoins being mined is being accumulated. But by 2028, It won't be 10 times anymore. It'll be almost 20 times if we keep up this pace, and Bitcoin still won't have truly gone mainstream. But in the next cycle, in 2032, there will be almost 40 times less Bitcoin being mined than what is being bought on average daily if this pace continues. And MicroStrategy has already mentioned this. Michael Saylor has already said it. Their goal for the future is to accumulate even more Bitcoin. If we continue with the next halvings, 2036, 2040, 2044, there will come a point when Bitcoin's price will skyrocket simply due to the supply and demand. We have to keep in mind that it's becoming less and less likely for Bitcoin to drop because Bitcoin is becoming increasingly scarce. There are more long-term holders. Institutional adoption is getting stronger and stronger. Each halving reduces the structural selling pressure. We also have to take into account the possible risks involved, right? Just because I told you in this video that Bitcoin is becoming scarcer and more Bitcoin is being accumulated, that doesn't mean we won't have a bear market or that Bitcoin can drop 30, 40, or even 50%. We also need to understand how OTC purchases and sales work. We also have to take into account how the order book works, how the liquidation cascade works. At the end of the day, people can over leverage themselves way more than they should, precisely because of the greed index, precisely because of market sentiment, precisely because if everything is skyrocketing and Bitcoin is skyrocketing, instead of leveraging 2, 3, 4, 5 times, I leverage 100 times liquidation cascade, and automatically the price of Bitcoin can drop 20, 30%, even 15%. But the most important thing, and what you should take away from this video, is how Bitcoin works, how Bitcoin has been functioning over the years. So that maybe not in this cycle, but in a future cycle, you can build a portfolio where a large part of it is related to Bitcoin. Because in terms of risk and reward, right now there is no better asset on the planet than Bitcoin. As the years go by, we will realize that right now, and it may sound like the same old battle speech, and we send our regards from here, but it's the truth. Over time, in terms of risk and reward, it will be much more worthwhile. It would have been better not to risk so much on Chernobyl level cryptocurrencies with Chernobyl like meme coins, and instead to have had a much more responsible portfolio investing it in Bitcoin. And there are people in the community whom I know who message me privately, who have a few Bitcoins and have only invested in Bitcoin. And your portfolios are appreciating much more than those of other people who have a much more diversified portfolio with cryptocurrencies and much riskier altcoins. Guys, that's it for today's video. Remember that in the coming days, the Wix exchange promotion without KYC will be reactivated, where you can literally create an account in just 1 minute. Give it a big like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and leave me a comment below. What price do you think Bitcoin could reach in the coming years? Guys, see you in the next video. Best regards, and see you next time.